Good afternoon. This is Brian Begley with InCloud 9. We're here today to take a few minutes out of your afternoon to walk through the April 2020 Dynamics 365 update. Before we begin, just a couple housekeeping. We are recording this, so if you don't want to be part of a recorded webinar, you should log off at this point. We expect to last about 30 minutes. We will have time at the end for any questions, and feel free to ask any questions that you have in the question boxes on GoToWebinar. We hope everybody is staying healthy. We thank you for taking time today to attend this. This actually is probably one of our highest attended webinars that we've had, so thank you for attending again. So let's get started. We're going to focus mostly on Dynamics 365, but most of these changes that you see are also going to be visible in Power Apps as well. So if you're a Power Apps user or Power Apps developer, you'll be able to take advantage of some of these changes as well. So I'm just checking. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. And so with that, I'm going to start going through my slideshow here. And for every slide on my slideshow, I'm going to switch from screen to screen because I have my slideshow on one screen and my CRM on the other. So we're walking through the Power Platform. First, a little bit about InCloud 9. InCloud 9 and Dynamics 365 support are a company that provides projects for Dynamics 365 and Power Apps, and end user support for people who use those technologies in their business. Feel free to get a hold of us. We are a Silver Cloud partner with Microsoft CRM, so we have expertise on staff who can help you with any issues you might have. So with that, let's go start talking about some of the highlights that we see. There's a lot of improvements that you're going to see in the user experience, but especially if you're already using Dynamics 365 with the unified interface, you're really not going to see much changes, which is a good thing because over the last couple years, Dynamics 365 has migrated from the classic interface to the unified interface, which has been a net positive for people who use Dynamics 365. But Microsoft has probably made very few changes in the user interface, and I'll point out a few as we go through them. But if you have not yet migrated to the unified interface, you should migrate at some point soon because that's when you'll be able to take advantage of the changes that are happening. The biggest change that's happening in kind of behind the scenes is if your organization is using the team member licenses, Microsoft is going to start enforcing the restrictions on those. And so you might want to take a look at your users who have team member licenses. Team member licenses in the US cost about $8 per user as opposed to $95 per user. And they are restricted in what they can do with Dynamics 365. They're generally supposed to be only used for light users, people who aren't doing sales, people who aren't doing customer service, mostly people who are doing reporting or activity tracking within Dynamics. If you are using those, we have a blog that we wrote in the last month about those changes that have happened, and it's available on our website. And at the end of this document, there'll be a link to it, and you'll all receive a copy of this PowerPoint. So if you are using team members, you might want to take a look at that. So even though they will begin the enforcement, it truly will not be enforced until June 2020. So even though in April, there will be some new features for team members, including a dedicated sales team member hub, you'll have limited abilities with what you can do with that hub for those team members. So take a look at that blog. If you have any questions, of course, get a hold of us. We'll help you out. We have questions ourselves, so we're hoping that we get some more clarity from Microsoft as we go forward. So let's go to the next slide here. And so we're going to talk about some of our changes on the just general improvements in Dynamics 365. So first off, a save button. For the last 6 or 7 years, Microsoft pushed the save button down to the bottom right corner of the screen for some reason. Never quite sure why they did it, but it allowed them to have more space, I guess, in the ribbon, the command ribbon. Well, Microsoft has finally relented, moved the save button up to the top left where it should be. So we'll walk through that. When you're in activity timeline and you're looking at views, you're going to have new ways to filter your views in CRM. So you can filter by date, by lookup. You can easily search activities for text inside those activities when you're in a company's timeline. We have new enhanced email functions to create emails within Dynamics 365. I'd almost think that if you have a salesperson, in the past, I've never really recommended people use Dynamics 365 for sending out emails. I think the interface and the way Microsoft has made improvements to the email structure is something that makes it almost something that you might want to think about sending emails out from Dynamics 365 instead of directly from your Outlook. We have some enhanced functionality that's been available with emails, such as if you send an email from Dynamics 365, you can track, has this email been opened by the recipient? Have they clicked on the links? So those are some of the features that you can do with an email sent from Dynamics 365 that you can't do with an email that's just tracked from your Microsoft Outlook. If you use email templates, you'll see that the chooser, the tool that allows you to choose the template, has been improved. You can actually preview what this email will look like with the template before you choose it. You can see the verbiage in the template, which is something you really couldn't do. And finally, one of my favorite changes is notes. Notes have not updated since at least version 3 of Dynamics 365. But today you can use rich text in these notes. So you can use fonts, bullets, colors, you can put tables in them, you can put links in them that are clickable. I'm going to walk through how that works. It's really straightforward. Anybody should be able to understand it pretty quickly. And so with that, I'm going to switch screens and I'm going to show you some of the changes that happened that are going related to what I've shown you here. So let me switch my screen. And here we go. So we're in Dynamics 365. This is the April release, and we're going to talk a little bit later about how you can get this today if you want to. This is one of our demo environments. So I'm going to click on opportunities here, and I'm going to show you, well, we're going to save that for later. This is actually the Kanban board that you can use. So I'm going to switch to accounts. So I'm going to open up an account here, and I'm going to open up good old ADatum. And when I open up ADatum, I see my timeline. Now you'll notice very little looks like it's changed. Here's one thing, there's the save button, there's the save and close button, all really good things. If I click save and close, it brings me back to my active accounts. Now, when I'm looking at my active accounts, one of the things I talked about earlier is there's more filtering that was previously available. I'm going to go to my leads view and see if I can do this. Okay, yeah, so I'm in my leads view. And when I'm in my leads view, I can do a little bit better filtering of my views. In the past, for example, if I just wanted to say, let's take a look at these leads that have been created in 2020, it was a little clumsy to have to click on your filter and create a filter. Well, now I can click on my filter by, and I get to actually choose what I want to filter on. Instead of having to put in a calendar value, I can just say, hey, filter by this week, this month, this year. These are all values that have always been available in advanced finds when building out an advanced find. Now these values are here when you are creating your filters. So this will make filtering in place much more useful. So I'm going to click on filter on this year, and I click apply, and I'm going to see that I only have one new opportunity here from Kristen Caniglia, who's interested in paper products. So I'm going to look at that opportunity here. It's been open according to this for 62 days. I am going to go forward. I'm going to qualify this lead. Now, one thing that we were able to do starting in the last update with leads is we can modify the process when a lead is qualified. Today, if the contact or the account doesn't exist, it will create that automatically for you. In the new Dynamics 365, you can set it so that when you qualify a lead, you can control if it creates a contact or an account for the companies that are part of that lead, that new opportunity that's been created. So we're looking at an opportunity here. And when we look at this opportunity, I'm going to show you some things about the timeline here. So it looks like we have a couple of emails that are in this timeline, and I want to search for some text here. So I can click right in the timeline in this search button, and I can type, I'm going to type the word tissue. And when I do that, it didn't find anything. Well, that's too bad. It should have. Let's go back, and I'm going to type the word here because I think there was. So there's an email message where it says, here is the info you requested. Real easy to find emails or any other activity that have been tracked against this opportunity that previously weren't. One thing you might notice also is that there's now a notification. It's easy to tell when an activity is open or closed. We used to be able to easily tell that because the color would be a different color if it was open or closed. Microsoft did away with that in the last update. By popular request, they brought it back. So I'm going to go back, refresh my timeline. I'm going to click on the plus button. I'm going to create a brand new appointment for Kristen, and you'll see that it is going to be open. And so we're just going to create it for now. I'm going to click save and close. I'm going to put some notes here. I got to give it a subject. Okay. So when we look at this activity, it shows as active. So it's an open activity. So I can quickly look through my activities in my timeline and see whether they are open or closed. I can also click on my filter here, and I get more filters available to me to search for different information. So I can filter by types, whether they're posts or activities, by who created them, by the date they were created, by different things. Let's look at notes in Dynamics 365. So we have a note here. I'm going to create a note, and I'm going to call this a rich text note. Okay, and now I'm going to start. First thing you'll notice, we have a little toolbar down along the bottom. We can use different fonts. We can use different font sizes. We can bold. We can italicize, underline. We can change color. We can change the color of the font. So this is a highlighter, and this is the font color changer. We also have bulleted lists. We can also indent text. We can put text in quotes. We can center and do things. We can add a link. All sorts of different options that we have here. And we can even add a table. So I can just add a table in here. I can say, this is a note, and this is bold text. And so I'm going to select it. I'm going to make it bold. I'm going to also center it, and I'm going to add this note. So I can open that note, and I see it with its formatting, and I can see what's inside the tables. I can edit those. I really like this because we've had a lot of clients who've said, why don't we have this functionality? Now we can say Dynamics 365 does have that functionality. I'm trying to see, one more thing I want to show you was creating emails in April 2020 release. So I'm going to click on my timeline. I'm going to click on email. And what you'll notice is instead of switching to a completely different form, an email form opened above the email that I'm working. This is something called a modal dialog, and you'll start seeing these throughout Dynamics, where when I do an action, a window is just going to pop over what I'm currently in instead of replacing what I'm currently in. So I'm just going to type an email here out to Kristen. I'm going to say blah, blah, blah. And now I'm going to insert a template. So I click on Insert Template, and I'm going to click Select. And it gives me a choice of all the templates that are available to us. So if I want to say I want to send her this marketing event notification, it shows me what it looks like. So it shows me this, going to say, Dear Kristen Caniglia, we are excited to inform you that we'll be in this event, et cetera, et cetera. I can quickly switch through all of the different documents, templates that we've created, and choose one that I want to send out to them. So here, Dear Caniglia. So we're going to choose this marketing event. I'm going to click Apply a Template, and I'm going to say replace what we've already done. And from here, I can just click send, and the email is going to go out to Kristen. If and when she receives this email, I am going to be able to determine if she's opened it or if she hasn't. So I'm going to open that email by clicking on Open Record. And you can see, if I switch to the enhanced email form, that there should be, there were fields, might not be showing them here, but there were fields that will show when Kristen opened the email and if she clicked on any links inside of that email. So that's one of a lot of the new features that are in the timeline and in the activities and notes in Dynamics 365. I'm going to switch back to my screen with my PowerPoint, and let's go to the next slide. Make sure I'm showing that. Yep. Okay. So we went through all the changes in the timeline. Now let's talk about a couple changes that are in the sales side of things. We have two big changes that I like. The first one is what's called a Kanban board. Kanban board is a visual way of seeing all your opportunities or activities on a screen, and in an easy way to move them from one stage of the opportunity to another. And second, we have a brand new sales forecasting tool within Dynamics 365. And I'm really actually excited about this. Before our call today, I quickly built a new sales forecast. It took me about 10 minutes to build a very basic sales forecast. And I'm going to show you that as part of our the demo coming up in a few seconds. So these are the two main changes I've seen in sales so far. Let's switch to back to CRM. I'm going to stay here in my sales hub, and I'm going to go to my opportunities. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you is you'll see that we have a Kanban board. And what this Kanban board says is that I have $151,000 in opportunities that are all currently sitting in the qualify stage. I can quickly move these, and this is based on a sales process called the opportunity sales process. So I can move these from one stage to another. And when I do move them, what happens is CRM pops up the opportunity in one of these modal dialog boxes. Remember, we talked about modal dialog boxes? So instead of switching to that entire opportunity, it's going to open up the opportunity. I can update it. I can change the revenue from 25,000 to 24,000. I can change the close date to 3/24, and I can make all my changes by clicking on the Save and Close button. So I click on Save and Close button, and you'll notice that it goes back to my view. Now, here's one thing I'm not sure about. For some reason, I can't get the opportunity to stay in the proper stage of qualify, propose, contract, and close. We are working with pre-release software. I think there's probably a bug there that Microsoft is working about, but let me show you how we can get this to actually work in a different way. If I change my Kanban board from showing me by business process flow, but by opportunity status, I can take a look at all of my opportunities, and it shows I have an open opportunity. I have 150,000. So I'm going to take this opportunity from here, and I'm going to move it over to my one tab. And it pops up the close opportunity form. So I'm going to say status reason is 1. We're going to say the actual opportunity or actual revenue was 30,000. And I can put my notes, and I do that, and it stays in the one area. So I can also lose an opportunity. I'm going to say this paper products opportunity didn't pan out. I'm going to move it over to my lost column. And so I can say, and I can type in my competitor, and I can say we lost it to Dow Chemical Company, and maybe put some notes there. So Kanban boards work. I can't seem to figure out why I'm having issues with using the Kanban boards when I am looking at doing it based on the business process flow. But once again, this is all pre-release, so I assume that by the time April rolls around, that will be resolved. Now, one thing you might notice is we're looking at this board here. It's my open opportunities. We're looking at what used to be a view. I can switch back. Let's say I prefer looking at this as a view. I can switch back to a view by clicking on the 3 dots and click Show As, and I can say Show Me as a read-only grid. And now I'm seeing my opportunities kind of in the classic way. I could also, just so you know, you can also say show me them as a calendar. So I want to look at my opportunities in a calendar by month, and it'll show me, hey, you've got an opportunity here on the 30th that is scheduled to close based on the day. You can do this in today's version of CRM, the one that you have today. You can change how you view records. You can view records on a calendar. I actually like doing this for some of the stuff we use, especially on the mobile applications if you're using this on a phone. So that's Kanban boards in a nutshell. Like I say, not working perfectly yet, but I think it's going to get there. And I really like the way it allows you to drag and drop opportunities. I also know that you can use Kanban boards for activities. So you can, for example, have a list of all your tasks. You can view it as a Kanban board and then move those tasks from open to complete, you know, or open to, you know, on hold or whatever status in that visual way. Next thing I want to show you is forecasts. So forecasts, they require a little bit of setup. And I'm going to show you that where that happens right now. If you go under your Sales Hub app settings, you will see there's a section under the setup. Now, a lot of the setup that used to be in the old Dynamics Classic interface has been moved into Dynamics 365 Unified Hub. So under goal management, underneath our section where we'd be able to set up goals and goal metrics, there's a forecast configuration tool. And you can create a forecast based on different criteria. You can create one based on your organizational chart, or if you use territories, you can use it based on territories. I built a very quick sample one based on an organization chart. And if we open it up, it's very, very simple setup. I say what we're using. We're using opportunities. Who can view this? So do I allow all of my salespeople to see the current sales forecast, or is it something that only a sales manager is able to view? How do we want this sales force to be laid out? You know, so I have the ability to lay out how I want my sales forecast to look. So I'm saying, first thing I want to see is the quota. What's the prediction? What's the potential revenue? What's been committed and what's been lost or won? I can drag and drop these columns in my view right here. I can add and remove columns. So if I want to take out this prediction column, it's gone. Another thing you can do is you can take data from external sources. So I can have an Excel spreadsheet where I will put in some data that's not in Dynamics. I haven't quite played around with that other than adding goals into CRM. So like I can get a spreadsheet that I download, and I can say for my salespeople, I'm going to open up this spreadsheet real quick. What are my sales team's goals? So I gave Deborah a goal of 375,000 and I gave myself a goal of 95. I can change these and then I can just import that sales goal up into Dynamics 365. So let's go, now that I've shown you very quickly how to create a forecast configuration, I'm going to go into my sales area. And when I go into my sales area, down here at the bottom, it's going to have performance section, and I can go to my forecasts. And when I look at my forecasts, it's going to show me where we're at and where we are heading. So I can look at this and I can see I have 2 salespeople. I have Brian and I have Deborah. And I can see this is my quota. I'm also able to see what I've lost, what I've won, and I can adjust these manually. So I can, for certain fields. So I can say, I can adjust this and I can say best case for Brian is $30,000 because that's a manual number. And I'm going to click adjust. So I'm able to go in and manually change these. I could say for Deborah, she's had commitments of $250,000. Okay. And I could say I've had commitments of $75,000. Okay. I'm able to manually make these changes to my forecast. What I haven't quite figured out is how to mark a forecast opportunity as one. So I've closed a few opportunities and they're not showing here. I'm sure that's something that as I play around with these a little bit more, I'm going to figure out a little bit more. But what you see is everything rolls up from Deborah and Brian to me playing the part of the sales manager, so that we have a committed quota so far of $325,000. We can have different charts that will be able to show trends and flows of data as we get more what are called snapshots. So I'm planning on doing a webinar in the month of April on this, and we'll definitely get you invitations out to anybody who's attended so you can take a look and see how well these forecasts might fit your needs. I think they're really a lot easier to build than the old goals that we used to use. So I'm really excited about what we see here. That's the last item I have to show in the Sales Hub. I'm going to quickly switch over to the Customer Service Hub. There's been a few changes in the Customer Service Hub. And I'm going to switch over to my PowerPoint. And so in the Customer Service Hub, a couple changes. I'm really not going to put too much time into them because there's nothing really exciting about it. Some of the changes to the timeline are definitely exciting, but one thing we now can do is customize the close case. So just like in our last update where we're able to customize how the opportunity close form looks, now when we close a case, we can change, we can add fields, we can remove fields. So for example, let's say when you close a case, you don't use billing time as something you want to track. So you don't even want your people to see that on the resolve case form. You can easily remove it. You could replace it with another field, or you could just leave it off. Another change has been in queue management. They say better queue management, fewer clicks to see the details of the cases that are available to you in queues. So that's a good feature to have. And finally, improve knowledge-based search and creation. So I spent a little bit of time in there looking at knowledge base. And so the knowledge base for me seemed mostly the same, but there's supposedly some changes in how you can lay out your knowledge base articles. So for example, you can now include images, you can now include video and other media, and you can create div containers and even anchors inside there. So you can make your knowledge base articles work better than they used to. And you can see, for example, how your knowledge base articles, when you create them, look on different media. So I can say, this is what this KB article looks like on a phone. And I want to see that because my technicians are out in the field at client sites. And I want to see, does this KB article look good when I'm out in the field? So let's just switch to how you can update today. We have a slide on this. I'm just going to show you how you can do it. If you go to admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com and you log in to look at your environments, you can switch to any environment and you can determine if it's in the current 2019 version of Dynamics or if it's in the April 2020. I'm going to open up the InCloud 9 demo. This is the environment we've been working in. And you'll see that the updates here over on the right side show that we've been updated. It shows we're in 2020, release wave 1, and it shows the items that have all been updated as part of this update. Now, if you wanted to update one of your other environments, and I encourage you to do this if you with a sandbox environment. At InCloud 9, we've actually been using this updated version since about since about February, early February when it was released. And we really haven't run into any issues except occasionally we have timeline issues when we're using the Outlook client. But for the most part, it's been stable and I've seen Microsoft has made improvements to it. So I'm in one of our demo sandbox environments and I want to go ahead and update this to the latest version of Dynamics 365 because I want to test it out for my users before they start using it. I'll click on the Manage button here and I'll click on Update Now. It's going to tell me what's going to happen. I click on Update Now. I have to type the name of the environment. And then I click Confirm. And it's going to start the update process. One caveat, and this is why you should be careful before you put it into production, is you can't go back. Once you've updated to the newest version of Dynamics 365, it's going to take about an hour probably for this whole update to occur, but once it's happened, you can't go back. So if you are interested in moving to the new version of Dynamics 365, I'd recommend you do it in your dev environment and test all your customizations out before you move your production environment. Okay, so I want to switch back to my PowerPoint. We only have one more screen after this. Okay, so this is my PowerPoint slide on how to make the changes to your environment so you can see what Dynamics 365 will look like next month. It has the caveat here that the update is not reversible, so please be careful before you go ahead and do that. So next step, we have a couple of resources. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us, support@ncloud9.com. You can sign up for our April 17th webinar. You'll get an email on that shortly, working with sales forecasting in the April 2020 update. We have a couple resources here. There's a release notes on the Microsoft Docs page, as well as a link to the PDF with those release notes if you want to take it and print it out to review all the updates to the entire Power Platform. A couple blog entries we've created on our Dynamics 365 support site. One about 5 new features to be excited about in April 2020 update. I think we cover all of them in the preceding 15 minutes. And finally, there is that blog entry here about the team member enforcement. So if you do have any questions, I would take some time to look at that and see if it affects your organization. Of course, contact us or contact me if you have any questions on updates. If there are any questions right now, please feel free to put them in the question box. And and the only question I see here is somebody who left, and they say, will they bring back the searching notes and what entity it is associated with? Not really sure what that means, because we can search through notes today. It's a configuration of your quick find, as far as I can remember. But if you do have any other questions, I'll look into that and see if there's something that I'm missing. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you very much for your time, and I hope everybody stays healthy, and we'll talk to you in April. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.